Hello, this is a prepaid collect call from...
This is guy Pana, the guru again.
Hey everybody, this is Mr. Claenn.
An incarcerated individual at New York State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision. Thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation now.
Welcome everybody to Speaking Through the Balls podcast, where we bring inspiration to the listeners to find motivation within themselves to be great. Through our content we bring, we prove, and betterment starts where you at now in life. Welcome to the show, everybody.
Today we got a special guest in the building. We got the brother Sen Say from Rochester, New York, original 13 member of the Mafia Assassins, the blood that's been putting on for a very long time. Yo, Sen Say, man, first and foremost, thank you for putting up to the show and for all the support that you've been giving us behind the scene. It was just a matter of time before we have you on our platform, man. Tell the listeners where you're from and about yourself.
What's going on, fellas? I appreciate y'all having me on, man. You know, it's all love. My name's Cinnsay. Born and raised in Rochester, New York, man. Lived out of state of South Carolina, Charleston, and Atlanta. Did a little bit of time. Came home, man, found my place, and just put my head, put my feet on the ground, tucked my chin, man, and kept it moving, man. Trying to be successful out here and do better in life.
That's right. Thank you, man. Appreciate that, man. Listeners, I hope y'all listening today, man. We got a very special interview. The brother came through, took the time out his day, to share awareness and give enlightenment on what's going on in his life, man. Cinnsay, man, first I want to congratulate you on the present moment. You know what I'm saying? So, a year for owning your own your trucking company. You know what I'm saying? Especially for dudes like us, you know what I mean? Tell us about the company, man, and what exactly you do and how far you travel. How did you start it?
Man, I guess, man, it kind of go a little bit deeper than just starting a regular company, man. Like I said, I lived out of state, in a few different states, and I would travel back and forth up and down the road. So I kind of fell in love with trucks as a kid, seeing these big old 18-wheelers down the road. I never knew you could make a lot of money doing it. I just wanted to own a big old truck, man. I ain't even care about making no money. But, to fast forward, when I came home, I think my brother is the one that kind of got me started into it, my brother Anthony. I ended up working a night shift, man, running box trucks. And then, it's a lot too, but running box trucks, then I worked at Rent Center. I went from Rent Center and running box trucks to running a rear loader. I was doing garbage for a few months, and then I ended up getting hired at the city. I worked at the city for a few months, for a whole year actually. I started running their dump trucks. But again, while I was working nights doing the box trucks, that's when I went and got my CDL, which a lot, because those it wasn't even CDL required trucks. But that's what allowed me to get the suburban, running trash, and then allowed me the inlet to get into the city, which is next to impossible, man. If anybody know how Rochester and the municipality works with getting a job at the city. And then I transitioned from that to, like I said, I was running their plow trucks at night, they 6 and 10-wheel dump trucks with the plows on them. And then I used to see these red Peterbilt trucks bringing their salt into the city. And even while I was getting going to school, getting my CDL, I would always see these cherry red Peterbilts, which is a tractor trailer running around the city, man. I'm like, I want to try those. Coincidentally, it's the same trucking company that would bring the city their salt in the wintertime. So what ended up happening is I ended up transitioning his requirements. They was just like, when I just told them, how my process went, everybody will come out and fill out an application. And initially they wanted me to drive dump trucks, but I'm like, nah, I got a Class A. I want that big boy. And I ran trash for 2 years. And then I was just like, I'm not just an employee, man. I pay attention. And I just saw the numbers and I saw what I was making. And I just did my numbers in my head as far as, what I would look for, as far as how much fuel I was putting in my truck. Even though they had their own fueling station, I'm looking at the price of fuel. And I'm like, y'all got all these trucks, putting all this fuel in these trucks. Y'all paying us all this money every week. Damn, how much is these trucks really making? You feel me? Aside from my years of driving leading up to it, to that particular job of, everything from night running and all that. But I finally just got tired. It was a bunch of politics with the company, man. It went from being privately owned to a big corporation, and it just kind of pushed me to, I said, you know what, I'm going to try my hand in it. So January of this year, man, I ended up, 2021, excuse me, I ended up applying for my carrier, my motor carrier authority and my DOT numbers. And I bought a truck off of a family member who tried to start a trucking company. They blessed me with that. It wasn't free, but, you got to pay to play at the end of the day. So I purchased the truck. I had to sit down, had some trouble with it, man. I had to do some work to it, got it up and running. And I finally just took that leap of faith, man. I literally, put my last and my all into it, man. And I just went for it. Started out rocky, and I went through 2 different contracts, or one contract that almost spun me out, cancer that almost killed me at the end of the day, like literally, man, sent me broke. And then I turned around, found another contract, and they did right by me for a little while. But again, like I said, I saw how much I was making them still. And I'm like, nah, I ain't greedy, but I'm not nobody's employee at the end of the day. That's how I feel. And that's no knock to anybody that is. Everybody got their position, but that's just not what I was satisfied with. And I just said, boom, I went on ahead, dropped my money on my insurance, activated my own authority, man, and, here I am today. And that's just the short story.
Right.
That's without the details in it, but.
So, man, Cinnsay, my boy, man, that I grew up with, man, it's good that you came through here, man, because, man, like, you helped us a lot, man, just getting this started, man, as far as, like, I've been locked up so long that I really haven't, like, been into the podcasting world, so this was all new to me, you know what I'm saying? So only like, you was like the main person and my brother I was getting advice from. You would tell me, I just watched this interview and this interview and this is how they doing it and they doing it. And so, you was like my ears. But, man, growing up in Rochester, New York, man, going through the things, we went through, man, like, just, tell a little bit about growing up, man, because, we like to have the people know where you came from in order to get to where you at now. So, growing up, man, just start off telling people about growing up in Rochester, New York.
That's kind of a, like I said, I had lived in Rochester till I think I was born in Rochester, lived in town till I think I was about 5. And then my mom, my biological mother, had moved me, moved us to Charleston, South Carolina. But I was and then from Charleston, South Carolina to Atlanta. When we lived here in Rochester, I lived on Cottage Street and on the west side, and then we ended up living right across the street from Fight Village, man, right there on Claenn. I can't even remember the name of it, man, what it was back then, but it's a different name now, I think. But anyway, I think, I don't know, right next to Bay Street Rexon. That's where I learned how to swing that. And it was definitely an experience, man, to put it lightly, because every town got their wild side, every town got their ups and downs, man. But when I moved back from Atlanta in '99, for me it was a real culture shock, because I had a country accent, big eyes, and 2 big front teeth, which now, of course, I grew into, but, and I ain't really know nobody. And so I was kind of the outcast, and it was even worse, man. It was even worse because I had went to a school down there that required uniforms, so I was a kid, but I ain't know nothing about gear, I ain't know nothing about dressing, and like I said, I came to school with uniform, the polo shirt and the khaki pants, and I had shell toes. I love shell toes, but so I was teased a lot, and that ultimately led to me fighting. And fighting one person led to me beefing with his cousin, and now his cousin got his homies, and I'm beefing with them now. And coincidentally, I start walking home with two classmates, which my boy that's black and my boy Rock. We was in the same room together. It's crazy, man, like how that shit type works. But it definitely, every day it was something stupid. Now that, you old enough to think about it, it's something stupid. You ask somebody right now what was it all about back then, and they say something, just off the wall. Oh, when we was in 5th grade, or he looked at me, or this, that, and the third. Now them, like, you be like, yo, for real, we did all that because of this? Like, for real, like, I heard people say that to me, like, what we was beefing about? Shit don't make no sense, yo. But, back then, when you young, dumb, full of cum and testosterone, everything makes sense. Fuck it, you disrespecting me because you looking at me. But,
okay, let's go back real quick. Leading to your incarceration. Let's speak about that real quick. I have a few questions. The first one is, what were some of the setbacks that deterred you upon your release from the Department of Corrections? Matter of fact, let me elaborate that a little better. What did you believe was going to be part of your struggle when you got home from prison, from DOC?
In a simple word, before I got released, I used to ask dudes that, had been on their second and third days on violations, like especially older dudes. Yo, what was the problem? I was proactive. Yo, what was the problems you faced? Like, what was the biggest thing that you had to worry about? You know what I'm saying? What was you working at? So I did all that. When I came home, and I had tested myself with a lot of things in jail, I put myself in situations that wouldn't cost me my life, but that would test my social temperament and my ability to handle shit. Everything from refereeing basketball games, which y'all know is the most dangerous job in the penitentiary.
Right.
To, just even trying to interact and hold conversations with, the wild, I don't know, man, like even the police, you talk to the, look, man, you at some point or another, you gotta learn to adapt. So my point is, I was proactive. So when I came home, the only thing I was worried about is how much time I had to get things done, because I had lost so much time. Right? I knew I would get denied jobs. I knew I wouldn't get certain housing. I knew I wouldn't get certain things, because that's just the reality of how these people, what a felony do to you. Especially, they run your background when you apply for an apartment now, and or you apply for a job. They run your background. So I know my felony and my parole status is going to hinder me. So none of that really bothered me, because I had prepared for that already. It was just about timing, me trying to, one thing that ultimately became a setback was me helping other people. That,
speaking of preparing,
felt like I deserved.
Okay, not to cut you off, sorry about that. But speaking, you mentioned preparing. Do you think having a strong support system helped you do those 10 years in prison?
Yeah, it did. It did. It allowed me, man, to, I kind of had the luxury of not worrying about where I was going to live when I came home. Which I understand a lot of brothers don't. A lot of dudes ain't got that luxury. I had the luxury of I had the luxury of a support system, man, for lack of a better word.
Right. Now, I want you to give the listeners your state of mind before, during, and after incarceration. Like, we want to hear growth.
Yeah, and I ain't laughing at the question. I'm laughing at how many people that asked me that question, because I think, believe it or not, man, and I want everybody to understand this, man. Your mindset does one of two things: it'll deteriorate, or it'll grow. And you can apply that growth or that deterioration. I don't know if I said that right. Whatever mindset you got, you can apply it to one or two things. You can apply it to do better, or you can apply it to the same bullshit that got you in prison.
That's right.
Because if you let the animal in me speak, and I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I think my brothers that's locked up and that's worried about the state of mind and need to hear it. Somebody asked me one time, they said, yo, would you change the way what you did when you was a kid? The animal in me says, yeah. And they said, what would you have done different? I said, I shot a lot more people and beat up a lot more people. But that's the young dumb shit. That's the young mentality of you know what I'm saying? And it's hard to explain, but when you think about it, it don't. The mature person in me, like, I'd have avoided a whole lot of shit, man. I'd have been true to myself. I'd have trusted my decisions and what I wanted to do and how I wanted to move. And because even things I'm doing now wasn't popular until I did them, and then people was like, yo, how do I get this, that, and the third? And I think that reaction is more satisfying to me than probably anything. I don't do it for them, but the fact that they, you know, you don't do nothing for a pat on the back, but when you get that pat on the back, that shit be like, it's kind of everything, you know what I'm saying? Nobody care about a Grammy until they actually win one.
Right.
But it's like, I know the phone about to hang up.
Thank you for using
Right. I have another question.
Bye.
Yeah.
You still there, Cinnsay? Okay.
Yeah.
At what point
hold on. I don't want to leave it at that. Like I said, that's the young shit. That's the dumb shit. That's the animal. But what I did was I took that animal and I said, no, bro, we could do this. Alright, so I took that same energy, man, and I applied it to something positive. I applied it to something that was going, you know, I ain't want to scrub toilets no more. I ain't want to clean bathrooms and showers. I ain't want the police to tell me to lock in no more. I grew I'm a hustler at heart, and my hustle grew. My hustle expanded. My hustle, you know what I'm saying, I applied that energy to something better. And now I win. I put that animal into killing these contracts, into, you know, knocking out these roads and these trucks I do, into, you know, just focusing on something better, man. And, you know, that's where I'm at with it.
That's right. I mean, definitely sound like you studied for growth and not change. You know what I'm saying? So that's a good thing, Cinnsay. We appreciate that. What was the adjustment like after living an abnormal life in prison, then adjusting to a normal life when you got back home?
The most offensive thing somebody always say to me is you institutionalize. But you don't realize what that shit do to you subconsciously, you know, your actions. But a lot of people that didn't know me before jail wouldn't know how I moved out here in the street. The adjustment process was more so, and rest in peace to bro, I.B. from Thurston from the time he said this to me. He said, yo, the biggest thing, peace to God, man. He said to me, yo, one thing he found out family members doing before he would show up to a family function, that they would talk about him, like, yo, he coming, so be careful what you do, be careful how you move. I was like, what? He said, yeah. He said, it ain't disrespectful. It's just they don't understand. And you don't consciously see how you move. And I would say things to people, and I would be with my mama, and she would look at me like, saying, I'm like, what'd I say? The mentality that we have in there is extremely irrational and aggressive out here, but to us it's normal. So that was an adjustment for me, trying to tone back my comments, trying to tone back how sharp I said things and how I spoke, you know what I'm saying, to people, and how, you know, your mere presence, your physical presence with your assertiveness is a threat to people. That was the only adjustment I think I had to consciously make out here. But nothing else really, you know what I'm saying, bothered me per se, because like I said, I had prepared for, you know what I'm saying, the thought patterns of what would come and how the nose, the nays, the nose, the doors that I can shed on my foot. So,
all right. Now, you come upstate, You put your appeal in. You lose your appeal. You put in multiple 440s with evidence of innocence. That gets shut down. How is your mind frame? And before you answer this question, I want to let the listeners know real quick, because a lot of people, we have a lot of women support, a lot of listeners, so a lot of women do not know what a 440 motion is. And a 440 motion is a New York post-conviction law that allows a defendant to ask the court to vacate a judgment against him or her, or to reopen their case. Now, like, what was your mind frame at the time when, like, everything was going down for you, and you like, wow, I'm gonna have to?
Yeah, you know, I know, bro. I never knew my release date. Every jail I went to, I made sure I told the counselor before they even spoke to me, don't tell me my release date. Because I never wanted that to determine how I moved in jail, and I never wanted that to determine, you know what I'm saying? I didn't want that to be my time clock. My time clock was my focus on getting my appeals in, getting my pay, you know what I'm saying, getting that 440 done. So I saw dudes that had more evidence of innocence than me still getting told no. But I saw dudes getting released after 20, 25 years. So to me, it was kind of like, it hurt. It definitely hurts, but I ain't gonna say I ain't take it personal. I couldn't cry because my release date was still shorter than dudes that had took 20 years to get it done. And then my mindset was to keep going, because it's like, damn, what if he would have stopped at year 19? What if he would have stopped at year 15? What if he would have stopped at year 19, day 361, 362? Like, he'd have never hit 20. He'd have never made that. He'd have gave up, and he'd have still been incarcerated. I seen dudes that are never coming home. So it was like, what I'm gonna stop for? Like, I didn't cry about it. It hurt, but I just had to keep going. It's frustrating, but I had to keep going, so I just kept going.
That's right. Now, before COVID, I'm saying, you was out there, you was doing lectures, you was going to these schools, you was talking to the youth, you know, because of MA, y'all the reason why all the libraries in Rochester have these youth programs now. I'm saying, y'all started that at the Arnett Library, if I'm not mistaken. Correct. I'm saying, tell the listeners about that, man. Go, Shawty, man, what's up, man? Congrats on that too, man. Like, how y'all put that together, man?
We well, I'll say it was. We were sat down by I call him Uncle C, Garrett Coley, man. He's still the head of the Rochester Division and Youth Team for the entire Monroe County Library System. He pulled us in there one day, and at the time, you know, and this is another way how things transition, man, from a positive to a negative, man. And he gathered us up, man. He was like, yo, we could do it. You know what I'm saying? I want y'all to start the pilot program for this. We're going to start a youth team center, because y'all always coming, you know, we walk right past the library every day, but we was doing the wrong shit in and out the library. But he pulled us in one day and was like, yo, we gonna start this program so kids can come in here and do their homework, study, and we're going to make a team center. And we all did that for a couple weeks, but like I said, fighting young kids, man. It eventually became a point to where, you know, we almost couldn't even go in there every day because we was fighting. If it wasn't one, it was one. If it wasn't me, it was Shoddy. I mean, Mr. Claenn. If it wasn't Mr. Claenn, it was my boy Rock. If it wasn't, it was somebody was fighting somebody. Something was going on.
Don't forget about Knox. Don't forget about Knox. They did the most fighting.
Yeah, Karen, like it was somebody. So it was almost like we couldn't even continue what we started, and then what we started, the name stuck. And it wasn't Assassin, but it was something else. You know what I'm saying? I'd kind of rather not say it was something else. Nah, fuck that, man. It was
association.
The teen council.
Yeah.
The teen council. That's what it was. That's what it started with, and then it went from that to the family associate. Our block. Like it just was a transition.
Yeah. Black, the and then by MOC.
I wasn't even gonna say that one, but you know, it ultimately turned. We was winning all the fights. I'm kidding, like I don't care who get offended by it. We was winning all the fights. We beating up everything, and I challenge anybody to that. Check the scoreboard. We was punching on shit, and police started getting involved. Oh, you got arrested with him. Oh, you got arrested with him. And then somebody started saying, oh, them MA dudes this them dudes from Arnett this, and them dudes from Plymouth that, and them dudes from. That's how shit happened. Police said you're never a gang until you give yourself a name. That's how we ultimately ended up on quote unquote the gang task force and shit like that. But we literally, bro, like, just like, I don't know how to, you know what I'm saying, the national, you know, the big national gangs just started, but literally, bro, like, these all my friends, these ain't dudes that we jumped in, we ain't, like, we was all together, we all hung together, we was all kicking it, we was all just, and then shit just happened, you know what I'm saying, it literally happened like that, but ultimately, man, fast forward back to the question, like, that program expanded into every single library in the entire Monroe County library system, and they got a whole floor dedicated in the main library downtown Rochester. Video games, computer games, they got a whole shop. Mr. Claenn, you don't even know, man. They got a whole studio up here now for music and TV shows now, bro.
Dang, cause it's crazy. We started off in the Arnett library doing it, in that little corner in the left.
Right. So it was like, but at least that part of our legacy is still intact. Now we kind of, you know, looping back around to what we originally started to do, but you know, damn, like it took, you know, a lot of time from a lot of us. We can't change it. We just moving forward now.
Right. Yeah, man. I mean, I've been around a lot of brothers from Rochester for many years. You know, I've been around the brother A-Ball, I'm saying, Balls, Cody, Bigum, you know, I'm here with the brother Kiko, C, Mike, Slick, my boy Red just came home, you know, rest in peace, 6ix9ine, I'm saying, so I know, shit, Rochester's like...
Hey, hold on, when you say that, we talking about the real one, you know, Trent, from Rochester, New York.
That's right. That's right. Literally, 6'9". Nah, 6'9", rest in peace to the bro.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
Rest in peace to the team, man.
That's a fact. That's a whole fact.
I didn't realize I was actually older. You know, I say big bro because of his damn height. But
That's right. Shout out to Mr. Claenn, man. What's going on, brother?
Ain't nothing, man. You know, I just, you know, man, Cinnsay, man, it's good that you was able to come through here, man. For real, man, you know.
Yo, you know, bro, what I wanted to say, man, I want to congratulate both of y'all, man, because Mr. Claenn, man, I speak highly of you, man. I don't tell you, but I tell you, I definitely tell you this much, man. Like, I know, man. I know we, you know what I'm saying, we know our struggle, man. And to see you doing this now, man, I'm more happy for you than I am for what I accomplished, man. I'm like, for real, bro, and you doing it with your hands tied, see? I mean, I can only do so much for you, but it's y'all doing your thing, man. I love to see this, man. I'm always be here for you and help, you know what I'm saying, any way, shape, form, or fashion I can, bro. Because again, that's what I am with somebody. I'm to you what somebody was to me also when I came home from jail.
Right.
You know, somebody, you know, one of my bros, one of the bros gave me, and I'm gonna shout his name out, Joaquin, man. And motherfuckers sat me down, like they made sure I stayed out the way. I wanted to get in the mix. I tried to. Old habits will die hard. You know what I'm saying? And I don't say that. I say that because a lot of people be like, well, how did you do it? It wasn't an easy process, man. It wasn't. I didn't come home, man, and just dive right into success, man. I put in work for 5 years, man, of going back and forth. Like, yo, I can sell this. My man's is still doing that. I could always get that. I still want to do bullshit, but I'm a hustler, like, and I'm hustling. I found my lane, and I put my head in it, and I keep my chin tucked, man, and I'm full speed at it. And I trust my judgment. I trust what I am. I trust what I've been able to accomplish. And like I said, at first, people was like, ain't nobody really believe me. Then I started showing numbers. I started proving it. You know what I'm saying? Because I think one of the biggest deterrents for me, man, of going back to prison was embarrassment. And they say that's the biggest deterrent, the biggest thing to change somebody's action is embarrassment. If somebody embarrassed, they're going to change their action. I said, I ain't want to be embarrassed, so, you know what I'm saying? I did it for my own personal reasons, but I damn sure was scared. I was scared of embarrassment, and I ain't want to go back to that cage, man.
So hopefully my brother, Mr. Claenn, gets some rhythm this year by the course 2022. You know, I know Monroe County, man. Monroe County been giving brothers a whole lot of time, and I'm glad they started that conviction integrity unit over there, just like they did in Brooklyn. And a lot of brothers should be coming back home this year, 2022. I'm saying get that time back, man. A lot of brothers are innocent, wrongfully convicted, so hopefully everyone gets some rhythm, man.
Yeah, man, because there's a lot of people, you know, from Rochester, man, that a lot of us know who up north, man, for stuff they ain't do. So, man, we hope that they get some rhythm with this new unit that they started, man, because one thing about living in Rochester, man, that, the jurors come from Monroe County. They don't come from the city of Rochester. They come from all the surrounding suburban areas too of Rochester. So a lot of the jurors in Rochester, they see us when we come in that courtroom and they just ready to slay us off the rip. So it's like, dang, like, you know what I'm saying? And then a lot of the jurors that do be sitting on the panel and they be from the inner city, they usually don't get picked on the jury.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like we really don't, it's our peers because they live in the same county, but it ain't our peers who understand, like, oh, yo, I live in this environment, so I know that, that's possible he didn't do this.
That's right.
But, Cinnsay, man, I just want to tell you, man, me and Pana the Guru, man, we definitely appreciate you, bro, because you seen this from the start up, man. You see a lot that goes on behind the scene. You know this is not easy at all. A lot of times, we had to, it's so many times that me and Pana, we sit down at our round table in the lab and we switch up plans every day because things be going wrong. So we're like, all right, now we got to do it this way. We got to do it this way. Because there's only one great idea out of many that we got put in the side. Like, right now, we trying to get a media class in here, and it bring correctional facility. So we writing the paperwork for that. And it's going to be called Speaking Through the Bars.
That's right. Cinnsay, man, appreciate having you on the show, man. Thank you. It was a blessing. It was an honor. You're our brother. You're our comrade. Congratulations on being home 5 years with no violations. I'm saying I commend you for that. And we'll be in touch. Thanks for coming through, man.
Yeah, I just want to say, before we close out, man, these two things that we always ask all guests, man. The first one, is what advice do you got for the youth? Because me knowing you and how we grew up, your advice is valid. So the youth need to hear what kind of advice you got for them.
The advice I got for the youth, man,
The caller has hung up.
is trust yourself, man. Do what you want to do. Don't be deterred by it. Don't let outside influences change what you want to do in life. Be yourself, man. Trust your own judgment.
All right. So what advice would you have for somebody who's coming home or who just came home?
Take your time. Be patient. Stay dedicated. And be relentless. Figure out what you want to do, man, and understand that it takes time to get there. No matter what, you can still walk in and out of your own house. Your doors are only locked because you locked them, not because somebody else told you to lock in. said this the other day. You want to fly in and out of the town whenever you want to, or you want to go? You want to be on the child when they tell you.
Right.
You know, ask yourself, what do you want?
Right.
Ask myself that 1,000 times a day. What do I want? And so that's my reminder.
Right, man. You know, man, we definitely appreciate you for coming through, man. Any shout-outs, you know, telling people your platform or, you know, what your company called, all that, like, you know, this is the time to do it.
I want to shout out my team, man, for real, man. Everybody, man, Rock, Black, you know, Grell, you, my brother Ant. I want to shout out my whole squad, man. My whole inmate family. Fat T, TJ, Pac, man, everybody, man, Gotti, you know, everybody that's that.
R.I.P. Dove, R.I.P. Clip.
Man, shout out to KO, man. Shout out, you know what I'm saying, Mommy, Miss Lisa, you know what I'm saying, everybody, man. You know, I just shout out, you know what I'm saying, it's too many to name, man. If I ain't say your name, man, that, you know what I'm saying, I still send my love, man. Shout out to you, man. You know what it is from me. My trucking company, man, called Rock Solid Trucking and Transport, man, out of Rochester. We're growing, we're expanding. We got another terminal in South Carolina, man. The goals is attainable. Man. It take time. Everybody want to be the butterfly, but don't nobody want to climb the tree. Go out on a limb, drop that spoon, and spin that cocoon, man. It take time, man. And you know, your struggle ain't gonna be everybody. Some people can hit the lottery. Some people gotta grind till they 50. But, you know, again, ask yourself what you want. You want to fly in and out of town whenever you want, or you want to go on the child when they tell you? Every day, I ask myself that. So.
Right. It's good, man. Speaking through the bars, man. Cinnsay, Rochester, New York.
Yeah, man, and shout out, man. Speaking through the motherfucking bars, man. Big time, man. Appreciate y'all having me, man. I love, like I said, I love what y'all doing, bro. I love to see you winning, man. And you know what it is when you come home, man. You know what it is while you're in there. You Pana, Keys, Sport, you know what I'm saying? You know, everybody, man, all y'all guests, man, you know what I'm saying, that's taking their time out their day, man, to come through and show y'all love, man. That's a beautiful thing, man. I love them for supporting y'all, man. Giving y'all their time. So.
Yeah. Appreciate you, man. Speaking through the bars, man, and we out, man. Positive movement, man, and it just feel good to have positive people to come through here and speak you know, how they grew up, so the listeners know, you know, the advice they got for them is valid, because, you know, some of the youth, they can't concur with a lot of people because they never really been through the adversity. But, you know, we bring people in here who've been through worse sometimes. And hopefully, you know, the story that they give them can inspire them, man. We just looking to keep growing, man, speaking through the bars, man. We appreciate all our guests that been coming through, man. For real, because I mean a lot. It mean a lot about character. It mean a lot about what you stand for and what you represent, because when you see somebody grinding from the trenches to do something positive and make a way for themselves so when they come home they good, and you support that, man, I tip my hat to you, man. So all our guests that came through, man, we want to say from the whole Speaking Through the Bars family, man, we love y'all, we appreciate y'all, and we want y'all to keep striving for greatness, man. Thank you. Speaking Through the Bars, we out.